Making sure that we find the rule, use the minor rules, but now we have 3 different rules that we're doing. We're using 3 different rules. We're using 3 rules, because it could be the same, it could be different. So, I'm gonna work through one, and then some of you are hopefully going to participate and guide us through them also. Can everybody see? Can you cut the middle light? Thank you. So the first one is g of x is equal to x cubed minus 2x all cubed times the quantity of 4x to the 10th minus 9x squared plus 7x all over 2x squared minus 4. That is the one on your paper, correct? Okay. All right. So before we start, we got to figure out the rules, and we need to find the main rule. What are the rules that we're going to be using other than the power rule? Other than the power rule, what are the rules that we're going to be using to solve this derivative? Quotient. How do we know it's quotient? Division. Very good. There is a division sign. Division is quotient. That is the first thing we should see. What's another rule we're going to be using? I heard somebody say it. Chain rule. How do we know we have a chain rule? How do we know we have chain rule? We don't know?
I think I did the same thing for the other class.
Okay.
On your sheets, you could put it anywhere really, but if you have this paper, your own personal paper, you should take this out and write this down. Some of us do not know how to recognize each of the different special rules. So the first one is product. This is a note that you should be writing down on your paper. What does product mean? What operation am I using when I say product? Multiplication. Good. So this represents multiplication. Now in calculus, we do not use the multiplication sign, mostly because it is the only operation that we know we're multiplying when we see 2 things together. So you'll see parentheses like this. This means multiplication. Another one could be a bracket with the parentheses. This is one way. Another way is quotient. Quotient is probably the easiest. What does quotient mean? Division. This means we are dividing. This is division. So anytime you see it in fraction form, this means we're using quotient rule. Lastly, we have chain rule. This one is not specifically related to an operation, but more so parentheses and exponents. Also, what's the other word? Coefficient. So you'll know you're using the chain rule because you'll see parentheses. What does this n represent? Exponent. So you'll have an exponent. What does the a represent? Not a variable. For example, we have 2x cubed. Cubed is the exponent. What is the 2? Not the constant. A constant is a number by itself. This is the number in front of the variable. Coefficient. So if you're having trouble recognizing which one is which, write this down so that you can see it. So if you look at the numerator of this problem, why is that first piece chain rule? What is an indicator that that's going to be the chain rule? The exponent, not just the exponent. What else is really important? The parentheses, very good. There's no written number there, but the coefficient there would be 1. So as we look at this problem, what is the primary rule that we're using? When we first initially look at this, was the primary rule? We already named it. Quotient. How do I know? Because it's in fraction form. After that, I'm going to look at U and V. U is the numerator, V is the denominator. When I look at U, that's just the numerator. We already identified chain rule. What's the other rule that we have to use for that one? Product. Very good. We know we're using product because there's 2 parentheses next to each other with nothing in between. Yes, there's that exponent, but there's no sign or operation sign in between those numbers. Is that making a little bit more sense? And then for an example, I'll also put like in right there. So for these next couple levels, you have to be able to recognize the primary, secondary, and then third rules in order to solve these problems, because if you do it out of order, your answer is going to come out wonky. Do we have any questions? Sure. Write this down somewhere on your paper because this will not be up when you take your assessments. But if you have this formula sheet, your own, not the class copy, you can use that on there.
Are there any questions before we move on to take the derivative? Okay, as Ms. Stevenson said, the quotient rule is our main rule. You have to think about it this way. There are minor rules or smaller functions or expressions that make up the larger quotient. Okay, that is how you know that the quotient rule is the main rule, because these tiny things make it up all together. So I'm going to label U and V. As Ms. Stevenson said, numerator is U, x cubed minus 2x cubed times the quantity 4x to the 10th minus 9x squared plus 7x. All of this is U. Yeah, it's right here. All of this is U. Not just this one with the cubed, not this regular polynomial. This whole thing is U. V is going to be the denominator, which is 2x squared minus 4. Questions on that? This is just labeling U and V so that we can use the the quotient rule. So now I'm going to look at this and I'm going to try to find the easiest one to do before I start labeling R and S or any other letter. V is my easiest because it is just the power rule. What is the derivative of V? Anyone? 4x. Very good. All we're doing is multiplying and subtracting. If you still need help with power, you have to come see us. We cannot teach you how to do power rule in class at the moment. Okay. So I'm boxing off this because I know I'm done. I have no other rules to do with this. So this right here is my V prime. So now I'm going to look at U. I see U is using two different rules. The chain and the product. You can take whichever rule you want first. It's up to you. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Rewind that. Strike that from the record. It does matter. Because when you label this, you're going to have to do chain rule first and then do your V, and then do product rule. Okay. What letters do we want to use? Anyone? Any preference? No preference, then I'm going to use R and S. This is going to be R, this is going to be S. So the main rule of this one right here is my product rule. So U prime is going to be R prime S plus S prime R. All I'm doing is replacing the U's and V's. All I'm doing is replacing the U's and V's. Are there any questions so far? Okay, so now let's label R and S. R is going to be equal to the quantity of x cubed minus 2x, all cubed, and S is going to be equal to the S is going to be equal to 4x to the 10th minus 9x squared plus 7. 7x. 7x or 7? 7x. Question so far? As I said, Tuesday, you will only have one of each of these levels on your assessment, which will probably be Friday. I will let you know as soon as possible. You'll only have one of these because it does take up a lot of time and a lot of space. Again, be organized. I'm going to do S prime first because it is just power rule. So that gives me 40x to the 9th minus 18x plus 7. Questions? Okay, I'm going to keep going then. Now I'm going to look at R prime. R is the chain rule. I have to use the chain rule. So remember that the chain rule, if we have U of V, the chain rule says that it's V prime, U prime, V. This is on your formula sheet, right? Chain rule? Nydia, can you check? Yeah? Angela? Okay. But I don't want to use U and V because it confuses me, so I don't want to use R and S because I'm using R and S already. So I'm going to use any preference? No? Okay, then I'm going to use M and N. So it's going to be N prime, M prime of N. And I'm just going to separate it. M is my parentheses cubed, N is my inside, which is x cubed minus 2x. Now I'm just going to take the derivatives. M prime. You need to stop me if I'm going too fast or if you have any clarifying questions. Or if I made a mistake. Please and thank you. Any questions so far? So all we're doing right now is we're taking this big problem and we're breaking it up into smaller steps to find the derivative. We're taking the bigger problem and breaking it up into smaller steps. So now that I have my derivative of M and N, I'm going to put it together to get my R prime. So this is going to be R prime. R prime is 3x squared minus 2 times the quantity of 3 times the quantity, x cubed minus 2x, all squared. So that's R prime. So looking back up, I know some of you are writing, I'm going to zoom out instead. Which one of these rules have I used already? Chain rule. Sorry. I've used the chain rule already. So this is why it's really important for you to list this out. To obtain at least a level 1, you're going to have to list out the rules for your assessment. Hi.
Good morning. Sorry. Just wanted to collect with which student is going to have ISS
Can I bring it down? Okay, thanks. Where was that? What was that? Okay. So I found R prime. I do chain rule. Now I need to use product rule. And I know I need to use product rule because I have this right here. So I have R prime and I have S prime. So R prime, 3x squared minus 2. 3x cubed minus 2x squared times S. Okay, I'm going to try to write this tiny but legible, but it's going to be a lot. Plus, am I doing something wrong yet? Anybody? I'm gonna need extra paper. And then R, which is x cubed minus 2x, all cubed. That is all of U prime. This whole thing is U prime. This is why it's really important for you to stay organized and label. Stay organized and label. For those of you who are done writing that down or have done solving this out, what rule now have I used at the top? I've used chain. I've used product. So now what's left? Quotient rule. Sorry, am I going too fast? Okay. So I have all of U prime. I also have V prime. So now I can use the quotient rule. All right, I have to zoom out to make it all fit on one page, guys. Okay? All right. Sorry. Quotient rule is G prime X, U prime V minus V prime U all over V squared. Now I'm just going to put in all of the things. U prime is all of this. Yes, you have to write all of that. So I'm going to try to write small. So G prime of X. Can you see? Kind of, sort of? This should be, nope, that's right. Times V. Did I do something wrong? Gentlemen? Now I'm going to do V prime, which is 4x, times U, am I off screen yet? I guess just a yes or no question. Somebody can answer. Yes, thank you. I'll move. Imagine having to do like 50 of these for a test in college.
Man, differential equations, that class.
Diffie Q is Actually, Euclidean geometry was my worst class. And real analysis.
Oh my gosh. I also struggled a lot with number theory.
Oh, I didn't have to take number theory,
There were
thank
no
God.
numbers. It literally was all symbols.
I need to find, I think I still have my packet so I can bring and show them what it looked like for my real analysis class. Are there any questions? Other than what? Adolfo? Leo? Question? Angela? That is the final answer. That is the final answer. That's why you're only getting one of these. But the thing is, like I said 2 days ago, even yesterday, you guys have to make sure you know all the things because there is just an infinite number of ways we can write these problems. An infinite number of ways we can write these problems. So you need to make sure, one, you're organized, and two, you know your rules. Because, oops, it keeps moving. Because not only is it going to be polynomials, what do you notice is in the second problem? What are those called? Special functions. So you're going to also need to make sure you know the special functions. No, I cannot zoom in, but if you need to move up to look at the problem, move up to look at the problem. If you have questions, please let us know now before I move on to the next example.
Anyone not sure about a number, a step, a variable, a parentheses, any of the things?
Did I make a mistake? I think Victor's out. When he comes back, you can go. Who still needs time to write this down? Alondra, it looks like you're still writing it down. What do you mean you didn't write it down? Adolfo, you're one to talk, sir. For those of you who actually care and have written it down, can I move on? Okay, let's look at one last example. Your homework is going to be, or not to be, you have 2 problems on the back, and then we're going to pass out another sheet. Actually, I don't know, we'll see. Before I start taking derivatives, no, it's in the second day. Before I start taking derivatives, what are the rules that I'm using here? Before I start taking derivatives, what are the rules? Other than power. Chain rule, okay? How do I know there's a chain? Very good. This right here, this exponent in parentheses. What's another rule? Other than power rule. Product? Yeah, product rule. How do you know it's product? What? How do I know it's product? Multiplication. Good. Things are being multiplied together. What is another rule I'm going to use? Natural log. What is that called? What do we call that? Just all of them in general. What do we call that? Special functions. I'm going to abbreviate it as F. Specifically the natural log. Seniors. I'm letting you know this now. When I grade your assessment, or when Ms. Stevenson grades your assessment, and we see an I, I'm not grading it. I'm not grading it. We're not grading it. This is not an I, and I don't know how many times we have to tell you that. It's not an I, it is an L.
That little loop, that's a cursive L.
On your paper, it does not look like an I. It is an L.
People are talking.
That is an L. And I don't know how many times. Angela, Oscar. I don't know how many times I have to tell you. That is not an I. It's not an I. Anyway, moving on. I'm just not going to grade it. I'm just not going to grade it because I don't know what IN is. All right. Are we ready? Are there any more rules we need to use? Are there any more rules we need to use? Ladies, gentlemen. Okay. Yesterday when this was on your assessment, some of you are like, well, there's 3 things being multiplied together. What's U, what's V? You pick which 2 things are going to be U and which 2 things will be V, or which other thing is going to be V. I always just go the first 2 will be U and the last one is V. Okay? Questions? Additionally, somebody in 6th period yesterday took the derivative of each of these separately and then put them together. If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Okay? If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. Does anybody want me to do that now so you can see what I'm talking about? No? Okay, you want me to keep doing the way I'm doing? Okay. All right. I'll keep doing it the way I'm doing. So U is equal to the natural log of x times the quantity of x squared plus 4 all cubed. And V is equal to x to the 9th minus 6x plus 5. So I'm going to just take the derivative of V because it's easy. 9x to the 8th minus 6. Are there any questions on that? Right there. Any questions on that? Are we sure? Okay. What's wrong? Did I make a mistake? I heard what? All right, so we have what rule here? Addition. Addition is not the rule. We don't have an addition
rules
rule.
on the board.
Product. Sorry. No, it's product. Yeah, it's product. So we're going to have to use product again. Yeah, that's 3 rules. So this, I'm going to label R and S. So we're going to need to have U prime is equal to R prime S plus S prime R. If you don't have these memorized, where are they?
It's not a trick question. Yes.
And if you don't have the paper, where is the extra paper you can use? In where? Where specifically? In the orange bin. I am not going to work out chain rule. You can do that on your own. We've done it a million times. For sake of time, I just want to show you where this is going. Okay? The derivative of natural log is 1 over x. On your paper, it says a over x. Is there a coefficient here? Incorrect. There is a coefficient. 1. The understood coefficient is 1, so that is my a. If there was a number there, then you would put that in the numerator. S prime, correct me if I'm wrong because I'm doing this in my head. Oscar, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Because I know you do it in your head. 2x times quantity of 3, x squared plus 4, all squared. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is R prime, this is S prime, and I'm going to put it together. So U prime is 1 over x times S, which is x squared plus 4, all cubed, plus 2x times the quantity of 3 times x squared plus 4, all squared, times the natural log of x. That is all u prime. Questions? This was quicker because I just did chain rule in my head. If you can do chain rule in your head, great. Just make sure you're labeling. So if you do something wrong, we can give you partial credit. Or if you forgot this square here, but you put it here, I can give you full credit. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So Leo, I saw confusion. So let's say if I did all of this correctly, right? But I forgot this square here, but in my actual work I have a square, I will give you full credit because it's on your paper, you just forgot to write it down there. Does that make sense now? Okay. So, I have done chain, I have done my special functions, I've only done one product, but I have to do another product here because these are things that are multiplied together. I don't remember who told me it was multiplied together. I think that was Adolfo. Right? And no, let me finish this problem, and then if we have time, you can go. So m prime is going to be equal to, not r prime, u prime v plus v prime u.
All right.
All right, let's see if I can write this all on one paper. M prime, 1 over x. X squared plus 4 cubed plus also seniors, please make sure you're using parentheses around these, okay? If you need to add parentheses in your derivative so you know to remember parentheses, do that. And then I'll label what everything is in 1 second, okay? V prime x to the 8th minus 6 times 20 natural log of x. X squared plus 4, all cubed. Okay. So all of this is not a division sign. Some of you still put division sign because you're following my example. U prime. V. That's why I'm making squiggly lines now. V prime. U. Whew. Off screen. There you go.
What is that?
It's the vent.